In this video, I'm going to go over the Amazon ASIN profitability simulator tool that I built. The goal of this tool is for you to know your real profit estimate on Amazon based on your metrics. And I'll show you why in a minute, why this tool is special and why you need to use it and why it's better than most other tools out there. If you find value in this video, I would really appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel and subscribe to my newsletter, as you can see here. This gives me motivation to continue building and creating tools and content for you, so ultimately it benefits you. As a side note, before I start, I built this tool using the assistance of an AI agent called Replit. It allows you to create software without knowing how to code. I'm going to make a separate video later on how to use that tool in general for software and for other things you could use to build software in your own business, whether it's for Amazon or for other things. I think that is the future, and very soon everyone will be able to and will actually create their own software for their own business needs based on exactly what they need and at a low cost and quick turnaround, which wasn't possible before. But again, I'm going to discuss that in a separate video. I would just add that even though you can create software without knowing code, it is beneficial to understand how code works, to know how to read code, and to understand the mechanics of how an application works so that you build it in the right way. So let's close this. Let's go over quickly how this calculator works, what it does, what you can use it for, and what not. So essentially, this calculator, you enter in some basic information about your product. Obviously, you enter your selling price. This is the price, that you're going to sell it on Amazon, and it could be the price you're selling it on or the price you want to sell it on. You can use this for existing items, for new items. Right now, this does not pull any information from Amazon directly, so you need to know your numbers. In a future version, we might add that where it pulls your fees and your actual product cost from Amazon through a bookmark or something like that. So at this point, you enter your selling price. So as an example, we're going to use a $50 item. You're going to enter your product cost. Now, product cost, there's 100 different ways that people calculate product cost depending on what cost they include or not. The way that I look at product cost and the way this calculator is designed for simplicity is product cost is essentially every cost that's related to your product up until it gets to Amazon and is sold to the customer. So that includes your cost, what you paid to the factory, your duties, customs, tariffs now. It includes transportation charge, inbound cost, placement fees, storage fees, all that. You factor that into the product cost. So if your product, if you pay $9 to China, but then it costs you another $1 to ship it to Amazon and another 50 cents for storage, so then it would be $10.50. So for our purposes, we will assume product cost is $10. And then referral fee, 15%. This is default. Most categories on Amazon are 15%. You could see here it already shows you the actual fee that you will pay based on the price, and obviously this changes, based on the price. Fulfillment fee, this is your FBA fulfillment fee. This varies by product, and you should know what your fulfillment fee is for every product you sell. So you would enter that here. And then, so this is where most calculators end. They show you this information and then they tell you how much money you will make. Now, we know that most products sold on Amazon have a return rate. So that's, there is a percentage of products that are being returned, and returns are a little bit tricky in terms of cost because some costs get refunded, some costs don't get refunded, and you need to be able to track that and understand how that affects your bottom line, and also be able to see how different return rates impact your bottom line, so you know how much to invest in actually improving your return rate. So for our purposes here, we will assume there is a 5% return rate, and obviously this will vary by category. And then return processing fee, this is a fee that does not exist on every single product. So you could see here, it varies by product category and size, and you could click here to see if this applies to your product. Now, I'm not logged into Amazon right now on this browser, but if you are logged in, Amazon will tell you if this applies to your category or not. So for example, on I believe in apparel and footwear, every return has a return processing fee, and if your fulfillment fee is about $7, then your return processing fee could be about $3 or around that range. For regular categories, most products will not have it unless their return rate is very high. But nonetheless, if you do have a return processing fee, you enter that here. And then this ends the information regarding your product itself. Now, if you want to add advertising cost and coupon cost, we'll get into that in a minute. But just by adding this information, we could already get a sense of how much money we're making and where exactly our money is going to. So the first tab we have here is net payout. and this is effective net payout, meaning this number will actually be lower than what Amazon shows you on any given order that they're going to pay you out, and I will explain in a minute why. So as you can see here, the calculation is on this item, the original price $49.99, and since we didn't enter a coupon, there is no coupon, so the final price is $49.99. The Amazon referral fee is $7.50. The fulfillment fee is $6.50. No coupon redemption fee since we did not enter a coupon, and the net after Amazon fees is $35.99. So what Amazon will actually show you on every given order that you sell, when you look at the payout on that order, they will show you $35.99 for this product. However, since we entered a 5% return rate, there is a return impact of $2.50, which means that for every $50 item you sell, you could assume you're going to lose $2.50 of revenue to returns, right, which is 5%. And then on top of that, Amazon will credit you the referral fee for those items. So every item that's returned, you get a credit back for the referral fee. Since the transaction was refunded, Amazon cannot take a referral fee. So in this case, $7.50. They will refund you the $7.50 for the item. So the 5% of that is 38 cents. And then there's a referral fee. So that's the referral fee credit. And then there's a refund admin fee. So the refund admin fee, Amazon charges a fee for refunding the product, and I believe this number is 0.08 cents. The number for every refund is actually much higher, and it is a percentage. It's not listed here, but the percentage is I believe it's based on a percentage of the referral fee, up to a max of $5 if I'm not mistaken. But either way, the software does that calculation for you. And so in our case, the refund admin fee, since it's only 5% returns, would be an average of 8 cents for every order. And then there's a return processing fee of 0 because we put in 0. So that gives us a net effective payout of $33.79. So this is our first box. Now the second box is our net profit. So net profit is simple. We take our net payout and we deduct the product cost and any advertising we put in. In our case, we didn't put in advertising yet, so the net profit will be $33.79 minus $10. That's $23.79. And then we have our margin. So our margin is calculated as our net profit divided by our net revenue. So times 100, so that we have 47%. That means for every $49.99 item we sell, our profit is $23, so that's 47% margin. And then our ROI, which is the return on investment, is calculated as the product cost. So that's everything we had to spend to invest into getting the product to Amazon. And then we will look at how much profit we made. So it cost us $10 to get the item. We made a profit of $23.79. So that's a ROI of 237%, which is pretty good. Now, this is the basic calculator. Now, before I get to all the sections on the bottom, there are two components here that we didn't use yet that we're going to add now. So the first thing is we could play around with these numbers and see how they affect the net payout. So if we have a return rate of 5%, if we change this to 10% and we look at the net profit number, we can see that the difference between a 5 and 10% return rate is more than $2 per unit on profit. So just by increasing the return rate by 5%, we lose, if we put this 10, we lose about 5% on margin. Now, if we have a return processing fee, we can see that also obviously affects that. And before I get to advertising, I'm going to go through coupon quickly because coupon is interesting. If we have, let's put this back at 0. If we have a percentage coupon of, say, let's make it easy, we'll make $1 off coupon of $2. This is a $49.99 item, so let's make it a $4 coupon. That's about 10% or 8% in our case, sorry. So let's make it $5 coupon. So say we give a $5 coupon, which is equivalent to a 10% coupon. So now what this does is it basically, if you can see all our numbers went down, right? So because if we look here, we now have two new deductions. So we have a coupon deduction. So that means now our final selling price is actually $44.99 instead of $49.99. The Amazon referral fee goes down because the Amazon referral fee is a percentage of the final price. So the Amazon referral fee now is only $6.75. Fulfillment fee stays the same. However, there's a coupon redemption fee of 60 cents per unit. So that gets deducted as well. And then all the other numbers stay the same as a percentage of the final price. So that gives us a net profit of $17.80 instead of $21.59. Where this gets interesting is that most coupons that we create, unless they are very high value, like if it's like a 50% off coupon, in that case it works a little differently. But most coupons that are lower value of between 5 and maybe 20%, not 100% of the people actually redeem them. So what that means is that when we calculate coupons, we could actually give a higher coupon, and it will have less of an effect on our net profit. So in our case, say if we had a $5 coupon, our net profit would be $17.18. If we put a $10 coupon, our net profit would be $13.37. However, if we know, and you could check this based on your previous coupons that you ran, you could look at the orders, you could download them and see how many of the customers actually applied the coupon, and you'll be surprised to find out that on average, the number in my experience has been around 60%. Maybe it got a little higher recently, but obviously it's influenced by how high the coupon is. The higher the coupon is, the higher percentage, the higher redemption rate you will have for orders. But let's assume for the purposes of this video that it's 60%. So now you can see if you put the coupon redemption rate at 60%, your actual net profit is $16.66. So even though you're giving a $10 coupon, because you could assume that 4 out of 10 customers will not use that coupon, so you could allow yourself to give a higher coupon and without as much of an effect on your bottom line. So that's very useful. And you can see here the calculator calculates the redemption rate. So in our case, we put a $6 coupon. We put a $10 coupon, but it's calculating it as only deducting $6 off your final price, because on average, 4 customers will not use it. So on average, you're only deducting $6, and it's calculating all the fees and everything based on only deducting $6. The last part of this section is the advertising cost. Now the advertising cost is a cost that comes after everything, and it doesn't really affect the numbers here directly because Amazon charges it separately, but it does affect your numbers overall. So over here, what I like to put in is not a cost, because a cost only applies to it only calculates based on the spending on the orders that came from advertising. But if you want to know your true profitability on the item, you have to use TACOS, so total advertising cost of sale, which is basically total sales, and then you take the total spend and you divide it so you get your TACOS. So say on an item you have 10% TACOS, so then you put in here, this is dollars, so we're going to put here 10%, and that would be actually $4.99. And as we can see here, once we put in the advertising cost, so now our net profit numbers changed, obviously, because we have advertising as a cost as well, and our margin was lowered and our ROI was lowered. Now another thing to note is that once you have a coupon on an item, then your margin doesn't equal your ACoS anymore, because your margin is calculated as your net profit divided by net revenue, and net revenue is calculated after the coupon. However, ACoS, the way Amazon calculates it, is before coupon. So in our case, if Amazon showed us that we had 26% ACoS, our real ACoS would actually be lower, because that ACoS they're calculating based on $49.99, and since our real revenue is only $43.99, so the ACoS would actually be higher than $26.53. It would probably be closer to 30 or more percent. So this concludes the first section of the calculator, which is really the most useful section and the one you will probably use the most. The next two sections are for use cases where you want to understand and know what your possibilities are when it comes to the item. So based on all the metrics above, after you enter them, you could then see right away what's your break-even price. So break-even price is essentially the price that if you change your selling price to that price, given everything else stay the same, your net profit here would be as close to zero as possible. Now that's useful for many cases, but the main case obviously is when you're either overstocked or you're getting rid of a product and you just want to get rid of it without losing money. So it's not, you won't always want to go to this price, but knowing this price will be extremely beneficial for deciding how low you could actually go without losing any margin. So for the purposes of looking at this, we're going to get rid of the coupon, because the coupon obviously won't make sense as a percentage based on this low number. But based on the numbers here, and we could see that $21.66 is our break-even price, and I will show you here why. Because if your price is we read this from the bottom normally, but you could read it from the top. So your product cost is fixed, that's $10. Fulfillment fee is fixed, that's $6.50. Your referral fee is a percentage of the selling price. So the system automatically calculates based on what selling price your referral fee would be exactly enough to not lose money. And it does that the same with the return impact, the return admin fee, and all these things. So, and if you want to test this, you could actually go back on top and change this to $21.66. And you will see that, so the net profit here is actually minus $2.16 because we have advertising cost, right? So advertising cost is always on top of this, but we're going to assume for this purposes that we have zero advertising cost. And this calculation does not take into account advertising cost, but it does take into account everything else, and you can see the net profit is exactly zero. So without having this number, if you just knew that your price is $49.99 and you're making $21.59, and you would want to try and guess your net profit, your break-even price, so you would assume that it would be the net profit. So meaning if this is the profit you're making, $21.59, then if you lower the price to that amount, then your break-even price would be zero. You would make $0. But as you can see here, in different scenarios, the numbers don't match. So for example, if your return rate was 5%, your net profit would have been $23.79. And however, if you listed it at $23.79, you would still be making money. So you could actually go lower than that. So we could see here, your break-even price would actually be $20.48. So if you put in here $20.48, you would see you would get exactly a $0 net profit, which would help you know that at this price you will not lose money. Now the inverse of that is the maximum coupon. So the maximum coupon is in a case where you don't want to lower your price actually to the lowest price. You want to keep it at a high price. What is the maximum discount you can give in order to break even and not lose money? And in this case, the maximum discount would be $29.87. Now I believe this doesn't take into account the coupon fees, so it would actually be 60 cents lower than that. So if we put in here $29.27, we will get a break-even price. Now the reason it says they're 18 cents is because the coupons could only be a round amount, and the system knows that, so it won't let you put in $29.87. But as you can see here, if you put 28, you will make 62 cents. If you put 29, you will lose 18 cents. So the number is somewhere in between there. And if you do a percentage coupon, you might be able to get the exact number. But that's the purpose of this section. Purpose of the next section, price volume analysis, is actually, I believe, one of the most useful and unique features of this calculator. And I'm going to explain it in the most simple way. Essentially, what this does is it allows you to compare two price points side by side and understand the difference in your profit based on how that would influence volume. Now, the tool can't know, obviously, how many more units you would sell if you lowered your price, or how many less units you would sell if you raise your price. So that you have to guess, or you could actually try lowering your price or raising your price and see the effects on your units sold. But it does allow you to understand how many units you would need to sell, more or less, based on changing your price. So in our case, our price here is $49.99, and let me change this back to 0. And let's assume over here that we're not doing any ads. And $49.99, let's assume we're selling 200 units a day. So if we're selling 200 units a day, this is our profit number, $23.79. It's pulling that from here. And then you were saying we're selling 200 units a day. So that would be a daily profit of 4,758 cents, which would be a monthly profit of $142,740, assuming 30-day month. So this over here, you would enter what you're currently doing. So on average, every month, the price you're selling at, how many units a month you're selling, and if you entered your costs correctly in here, then this would be your profit. Now this currently does not take into account the coupons, and I don't think it takes into account the advertising either, but you could factor that manually, and I will try to add that in a future version. But now, say you lowered your price to $39.99, right? So that's $10 less. Now, if you sold the same amount of units, your profit would only be $15.73, which would be $3,100, which would be almost $100K. So you're missing out on about $40,000 of profit. However, you could see here that in order to match the daily profit of what you're currently doing, it will tell you exactly how many units you need to sell to make the exact same amount of profit. So it tells you you need to be able to sell 302 units at this price to make the same amount of profit. And you can see that easily if you change to 302. Even though you're only making $15 profit per unit, you're selling more units, so you make more profit. And you could take this a step further. You could say, I think that at $39.99, I'm going to sell actually 450 units. So in that case, you could clearly see you will make a lot more money if you sell it at $39.99. However, if you actually try this and you only sell 250 units, you're actually making less money. It does not pay to lower your price. And this works on the inverse as well. So you could say, I believe I could actually sell this item at $59.99 and I won't lose that many units. So if I sold the same amount of units, I would obviously make more money at a higher price. However, I know that at $59.99, I'm going to sell less units. Now, obviously, that's not always the case. Sometimes you could sell more at a higher price, but more often than not, when you raise the price, your velocity will go down. So you can assume that you will sell less units. So in our case, say we're going to sell 150 units. You could see here that even though you raised your price and you sold only 150 units, which is less than 200, however, your monthly profit is still going to be the same or higher as your when you priced at $49.99. So you could use this, you could play around with this to see different scenarios, different pricing. You know, if you raised it to $69.99 and you only sold 120 units, you know, so you could play around with it like that, and it's will be very useful when you come to make pricing decisions to quickly understand the impact of pricing on your profitability and unit sales. The last section here is a PDF report, which essentially when you click on it will download a PDF with the metrics here. The PDF is not so pretty at the moment. I'm working on improving that, so hopefully we'll get better at another version. But in the meantime, it does have some good information there, so you could try downloading it. This concludes basically the explanation of this calculator. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you use it. I hope it helps you. Please let me know any feedback you have on it, or any questions or any suggestions to improve. I'm happy to work to help make it better and make your life easier. You could contact me either through the comments here or on the website. There is a contact button. You could click it and send me a message. Again, if you enjoy this, especially if you lasted till the end, would appreciate if you subscribe to my channel, follow me wherever you see me, and subscribe to the newsletter. Thank you again. Have a great day.